Oh, got it. I don't think I know many of you. I've just been talked at by Zoom, but it's nice to meet you all. And thank you to Yasmin and the Chamber for the opportunity, which I pitched to them as a PR exercise. So here we go, demonstrating what PR does. I'm going to share my screen, maybe, if I can do it right this time. There you are. If you can't see that, please shout. So we do have some slides to accompany our chat. So today I have some special guests who Yasmin has just introduced. So we're going to talk a bit about PR, what it is, what PR was last year, what might be new for this year. I'm going to introduce Dan and what he has to say about PR, and then Jacob and Chris about digital marketing and how that fits with PR. And then it'll be an open forum for your questions or not. And we're going to try and help each other out here as and when we speak or don't speak to answer your questions in the chat as well. And then I will finish up with some quick tips, say thank you, and then Yasmin will clean up for us. Okay, so, all right, I'm in charge of these slides. Let's see how we get on. All right, so when you think about PR, I'm not sure exactly what you think about what public relations is, and a lot of people have different ideas of what it is in practice, at least. And I try and think about it personally as reputation management. Everything that you do in business here is our forum in business. You know, everything you do will form an opinion of you to people, to other businesses, whether it's in our sectors or whether it's in our areas. So for me, PR underpins all marketing plans, whether you have actually got PR in your marketing plan or not. So I think it's the thing that binds it all together. It's the strategy that brings it together. Whether you focused on it or not, I think that's true. It's about understanding key messages, defining your audience, and building rapport with your external stakeholders. So they could be clients, they could be you know, your supply chain, they can be media, social media, all of the things that you know about, and then some perhaps that you haven't thought of. Anybody really that searches for you, whether that's online or in person, they are subjected to your PR, whether you think about that or not. So I think it's worth thinking about what people think about you. So brand management, reputation management, I think that's where I'm coming from. And to me, at least, I believe that PR is a cost-effective way of raising your profile. When people have been involved with PR in their business, I think they can then see how valuable it is to them. But at this point, if you and your business don't have PR, perhaps you don't understand how cost-effective it is. And it predominantly involves free media. So its purpose, I guess, is to open free discussion and generate coverage. But you don't directly pay for it. So it's kind of opposing to advertising, which you may have a budget for advertising, you may not. So really, simplistically, editorial might be something that you write about some news, and that would be free. You share it with the press in certain ways, and hopefully they will print it for you, or wherever you want it to be, digitally or in print. And it is quite distinct to advertising. There's obviously something in the middle that's called advertorial, which you pay for also. So PR is something that involves all of those things. And it really, underpinning it means that you're positively managing your communication channels between the company, your stakeholders, to ensure that you have a positive reputation that kind of covers your entire business. And PR for to put it into context, I guess, last year, if you can see this slide, these little words here are trying to describe, using the Pantone colours of last year, that things change year on year. And that's the point of this image, really, is that last year, I need to read my slides because you're all in my way. Last year, PR was about authentic messaging. It was about integrity and trust. Obviously, we had COVID, as we still do, but it really did disrupt our messaging last year. I think we had to be a bit more humble. If we had some big wins when COVID began, it might have been we had to tone down perhaps and use a different tone of voice for trying to show off about new wins when people were struggling. And indeed, you know, the pandemic didn't just make everybody struggle in business, but obviously personally. So we have to embraced that really, and people were asking for accurate information, for transparency, and all the things you can see on the side. I don't want to go through them all, but we expected a little bit more from what people were putting out there, and obviously GDPR, Brexit, and all those things also formed quite an impact on us as a business in terms of PR, brand, marketing. And I put that in because I think it's quite useful then to sort of compare it to what I believe, at least, is going to happen in the world of PR in 2022, which I think, and looking at all the information out there, that brand is going to be the big deal for this year. Your brand and how personally you're involved with your brand. And Dan will come on to that in quite a good way in terms of Panasonic. So Dan works for Panasonic, a large global brand, and he uses his personality to share through his social. So Dan will explain that in a minute. So it's about, in my opinion, personal brand, where you are in your sector, how you're going to elevate yourself within your business using all the tools that we have digitally at our disposal, and increasing your brand awareness using those tools. So that's what I believe we're going to be pitching for PR in 2022. And if January is anything to go by, which has been my biggest month ever, people are really embracing that now for their businesses. So I think this is quite a timely seminar for those interested in PR. So I think there are ways that we can do this in 2022 that you've probably heard of. So I've had quite a tranche of new people asking for their personal brands to be marketed and managed by me for them, but for business. So they might be part of a larger business or indeed a sole trader, and they want to make sure that their brand is out there and being recognised in a positive manner. Have you heard of newsjacking? You probably have. It's pretty big. It's going to be big this year. That's jumping on board something that's in the news, being topical. Using it or anything else for leverage. Is there something in what you're doing that you can leverage for interest? Could it be news? Is it something you should share, which will be positively impacting on your brand? I say be bold, be innovative, do something different. But different is difficult these days because different has been done. So how are you going to make it different? Be disruptive. Is that something that your business can be? If you're in insurance, maybe, or something like that, or a solicitor, being disruptive perhaps isn't a good tactic. But something, if you're in a more creative business or sector, you can make waves and stand out. Also, use the channels that are available to you. But I say that with caution because I'm not entirely sure that certain sectors should be in, TikTok, if that's really not what's going to work for them. For example, and I would say, and that's something that we definitely do at our agency, is share your news with humility and be honest. As I said about in the pandemic, we have to choose the right tone of voice and the right messages for the right time. So we need to be aware of that. And I think people do appreciate honesty, even in the world of PR. I think honesty has its place, but maybe that's why we're a little bit different. So based on that, I'm going to hand over to Dan from Panasonic, which means I have to now stop sharing my screen and seamlessly hand over this world of technology to him. So Dan is going to explain to you all about his world of PR at Panasonic. Thank you.
Sorry, just a brief fire alarm there. I'm okay though. People are leaving, but I'll stay because this is very important. So, so let me share my screen. There we go, that should be it. That was pretty seamless, minus the fire alarm. Cool. So I'm Dan Creasy. I work for Panasonic in our Tough Book division. And yeah, so I'm a big user of social media. I think it's brilliant for you guys to use. I think any business can use it, like Ruby said. I think finding your platform is very important. I use TikTok. I don't use it for business though. But that could be the right place for some people to reach massive audiences. So I'm not a PR expert. That's why I have lovely people like Ruby to help me with that sort of thing. But what I seem to have been able to do is avoid PR disasters, which once we get onto some of the posts I do later, you'll probably be amazed I've managed to do that. So I'm going to sort of talk about some of my tips for avoiding PR disasters, so you don't need Ruby to step in and manage that. So yeah, so we're going to look at social media and avoiding PR disasters, but to give it it's sort of its other title, it's basically how not to get cancelled. So hopefully no one will get cancelled in 2022, fingers crossed, at least none of you guys. So I've got a few tips to share. So my first one is don't rush. So everyone always says social media is fast, you need to be fast. So if someone's commenting or liking your post, you need to jump on them metaphorically and encourage that conversation. So reply quickly, because once they've posted or commented, you don't want to be coming back a week later and going, oh, hey, great comment. You want to get them there going and get that going as quickly as possible, because once that post is posted, you've got something like 24 hours before it's basically dead and no one will ever see it again. So you've got to encourage that. But at the same time, there's always time to double check what you're doing. So I don't know if you're familiar with this quite famous Ed Balls tweet from 2011. So basically Ed Balls MP, former MP, I don't know if he's an MP anymore, but he apparently the story is he was trying to Google his own name. We've all done that, haven't we? Come on, I do it daily, see how I'm doing. Instead of going to Google, he went to Twitter and tweeted it out. So ever since then, the 28th of April has been Ed Balls Day. So perhaps what Ed Balls should have done was just stop and go, is this Google or is this in fact Twitter? So whenever it's easy to get quite worked up on social media, somewhere like Twitter can be particularly an angry place. LinkedIn is a bit nicer, although it tends to creep over in the last few years. So my advice is just before you respond to something, and I do this a lot, I tend to type out something, go, is this going to bring joy to the world or just more anger? So then I've deleted a lot of comments and a lot of posts that have never made it through my quality control. So just take a breath. You can be clothed through it. You don't have to be naked like SpongeBob. My second one is tips to avoid. So things and areas that are perhaps best not to post about. Actually, when I was writing these, I was getting heart palpitations because I was thinking, am I going to offend someone just by mentioning these things? But I think I'm okay. So let's see, I might need you in a few minutes, Ruby. So first one is politics. So, God, this is hard not to talk about at the moment, isn't it? There's a few things going on, and I've actually probably slipped into making the mistake of posting about politics occasionally, because it's very hard. And when Ruby's talking about newsjacking, that's the sort of thing you want to get on. So you can do it in clever ways without causing division, but I try to just avoid it because, oh, it's a tinderbox. So avoid that one. Second one, religion. So Jediism is a real religion. So they're people who believe in the men with the shiny swords who live in space from Star Wars. So I'm sorry if there's any Jediists there, because I might have offended you. But again, I'd never post about religion or comment about someone else's religion. That's their beliefs. They're welcome to whatever they believe, even if it's men with like little swords. But if religion is a big thing, maybe your business is a church, then obviously you have to talk about religion. But you might have to be prepared for people to comment and not be very nice, because that's what people are like on the internet. And again, just take that breath. Remember SpongeBob being naked in his shoes and socks, and think, let's see how I respond to this in a calm manner. And then finally, I didn't want to mention Brexit. So I've called it leaving trade unions. And Ruby mentioned it as well. It's been a topic for a while, hasn't it? It's still going on. And again, I think I made a mistake once of talking about Brexit and all hell broke loose. So I try to avoid that, because all it does is there'll be lots of people who agree with your thoughts on these things, which is great. You'll get people commenting, but there'll be a lot of people who are the polar opposite of what you think. And all it does is bring negative stuff and energy to your brand, and you don't really want that. But there's lots of other ways to bring really good stuff to your business. So one of the things I try to be fun and funny. I'm not always funny, I don't think, but it is really okay to be fun. So on LinkedIn, I think it can be quite boring, can't it? Particularly on LinkedIn. So when you do see something a bit fun and different, then it really stands out, and people seem to like some of the stuff I do. So that's sort of what I do. I try and do a fun twist on these things. So even when I have spoken about Brexit, I've done it in a fun way. But there's there's a bit of a strategy around it. So people hate ads. I hate ads. I hate them on TV. I hate them on LinkedIn. I hate them all over the shop. And that's coming from someone who pays to do ads all the time. So what a good strategy to remember is this 80-20 rule. So try and do 80% other stuff. So stuff about you. So your business, what your day's like, some of the cool stuff you're doing, even family. And then do sort of 20% on promotion. So in a week, you know, if you're doing five posts a week, you do 3 on other stuff to promote your business. So people get to know you, they like you. So then when you slip in something about your business, they're like, oh, okay, I don't mind that. They've given me all this other stuff. Maybe you've given some good tips and things so that they don't mind that promotion. And then what that does is they get attached to you, they like you. And then if they ever need your services or whatever you supply, then they're like, ah, Ruby is a lovely person. Look at all that lovely stuff she's written about Dan Creasy on the internet. Then they're like, I'm going to go to Ruby for some PR. I probably push that rule more to like 99% other stuff, to be honest. But what to post? So after saying avoid all these things are terrible, you can still really push the boundaries even on LinkedIn, which is where I tend to spend most of my time. So these are just some examples of things I've found from other people and some of the stuff I've done. So on the left, there's Oleg here. He's the global CTO at Daily Mail, so a very big, important man. But what he seems to do is just these text posts. So sometimes he'll just even write it on a piece of paper and hold it up and take a photo, simple as that. So if you're not comfortable doing photos of yourself or video, you can just do text and they can just work as well. So Gary V in the middle with the cartoon, he's a well-known businessman, and he does social a lot. He's a lot on Twitter. He's also on LinkedIn. He has a whole team behind him doing these things. But what he does is lots of different ways of creating content. So for example, here he's got a little cartoon. So if you happen to be talented in doing cartoons or drawings, it's a really great way of taking your message and making it a bit more different and a bit more unique. In the top right, I'm just going to move my face from here so I can see, well, my face again. I've got 2 examples here. So on the right was a video and on the left was just a photo. So again, everyone says video is great for social, and it is, but you don't have to feel pressured to do it. Photos can work as well. So the photo on the left got 1,700 views and the video got 900. So you can still get that reach without having to go into the effort of making a video. But what's interesting is the comments. So I got 8 comments on the video, 3 on the photo. So you get a bit more interaction. So mixing it up's quite cool. So you can get more reach, drag more people into your world, and then hit them with a video and get them to interact. And then at the bottom, a bit of a riskier one. So there's lots of websites out there where you can create memes. And I do this a lot. So they'll have templates and you can change the text, change the images. So this is actually one where I was promoting Panasonic unusually. And it's a meme around 50 Shades of Grey. So it's a bit riskier than some of the other stuff I've done. So you can do stuff like that. And then on the right is a simple text post. So I didn't even have an image for this one. It was just a story about a colleague of mine chatting about how I must be busy because I'm not on LinkedIn. And again, that got 1,500 views. So you could work with what you're comfortable with, really, and maybe you build up, start doing text, maybe a little video, maybe a few photos, and then, you know, get to wherever you feel comfortable with. And then talking of videos, even on LinkedIn, you can be quite fun. So on the left, I think on the left was a music video I did. I was there in bed. In the middle, I was speaking to a cuddly toy. And then on the right, if you've got kids, get kids in a video. This video did so well for me. I was interviewing them about working from home and whether they like me working from home during the pandemic. Apparently they prefer me at the office, which is real nice. I felt nice and cuddly about that. It has 1,200 views there, but I think it's skyrocketed since then, and 53 comments, which is really, really good for me. So anything like that, again, showing that personal side and the fact that you're human and not just the person posting pictures of what your company does. All that stuff works really well, especially kids. Get your kids out. And finally, one of my most successful posts, I didn't even create anything for this one. Here we go, I think it's come up. So it was the birthday of, or the anniversary of the launch of Windows 95. And I remember this video from the launch of Windows 95. I'll put it on mute because we don't need to hear it. And I'll simply put this line, put the video, and it was 1,600 views whenever I took this screenshot and 70 comments. So again, you don't even have to make your own content. If there's something that's relevant, you think's interesting, and I particularly like the fun stuff, then that could also work really well. And you can see why this is successful. Look at the cool dude and the dancing. So that's it. That's my tips. If you've got any questions, stick them in the chat. Yeah, I'm now going to hand over to Jacob. I remember to do it, Jacob.
Thanks, Dan. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I need to swap over. That's how I go anyway. Oh no, not that one. Right, let's give this a go and see. Can you all still see that? Yes, we're nodding. Fabulous. Okay, cool. Right. Actually, saying that, can you see all the other slides at the bottom? Can you just see the whole thing?
We can see like the presenters part.
Brilliant. Right. Well, we love that for us, don't we? Okay. Right. Let me let me change the screen, which is there we go. What about that?
Perfect.
That's
beautiful.
good.
Right, we love that for us. Brilliant. Thank you very much, and thanks, Dan. How do you follow that, by the way? It was really, really interesting, actually. Some things in there that even I'm picking up, and believe it or not, between me and Chris, we run a digital marketing agency, so it's really interesting stuff. What we're going to cover specifically is the link between PR and digital marketing, because there's a lot of cross-contamination, and Ruby and Chris and I, we work quite closely together on various projects that involve a mixture of digital marketing and public relations. The first thing, though, we're going to cover is going to be digital marketing for this year. So the first sort of couple of trends, if you like, that I'm going to specifically cover is, so I suppose it leads on from what Dan was saying about social media content and video. We're in the middle of actually producing a video ourselves for the business, and we're trying to focus on being more video first. Ruby mentioned TikTok earlier, and not every business should be on TikTok. You should always be on a platform where your audience is, for sure. But using video as an engaging piece of content is becoming more and more popular. So more and more businesses are starting to jump on the bandwagon and get creative. So if there's anything that I could tell you to look into this year, and like what Dan said as well about being, it goes all ties in with the whole personal brand thing, and being personable, definitely jump on that, and show your personality through yourself, through your business, in the form of video content. And it doesn't even have to be long either. The second thing, I suppose, that links into that is about being human. And there are quite a few businesses that tend to just talk at people on social media, and it's not the best way, really, because that's where people tend to scroll, their attention span drops, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. But if they see something that talks directly to them from one human to another, that's where you start to really engage with people in the way of likes, comments, shares, and you start a conversation which is really meaningful, and also it helps with people getting to know your brand on a deeper level, not just this is what we do, this is how we do it. It's this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is why we do it, and this is all the reasons why you should be doing it with us. And you know, it kind of ties everything all in to being more human. The next 2 points, I'm actually going to hand over to Chris. Chris is our project manager here at Infinity Digital. He hasn't been with us very long. This is his first webinar. So these are a couple of topics that Chris has sort of pulled and pointed out as he's been with us, and noticed that we'd be looking to sort of, I suppose, the trend carries on into this year. So without further ado, Chris.
Hi there. So you may be wondering why something technical like website speed and mobile optimization, how that fits in with PR. Well, essentially, they're two very big factors in the user experience of someone coming to your website. So if your website is slow, if it looks rubbish on a mobile phone, these are things that can affect your reputation. So if you can sort those out, you can actually enhance your brand with optimizing for a mobile phone, because a lot of traffic now online kind of does come through mobile phones, mobile devices. Obviously, if you're B2B, that balance swings slightly the other way, because obviously a lot of people do a lot of their work on desktop. But essentially, if you take just a couple of those technical options and just make your website, your platform, however you deliver your services, just load as fast as possible. Don't make your customers wait. If you present it well on a mobile phone or a mobile device, you can actually enhance your brand by creatively using your website design and layout to provide a really good experience that actually pushes and, as I said, enhances your brand a bit further. So it's not something to be ignored. It might, like I said, it's a bit techy, isn't it? But it can actually have a big effect on how people experience your brand, especially if you're actually moving in trading in an online space. The other thing, PPC, it's advertising. There's a lot of spend on that, but obviously, specifically regarding COVID, you yourselves may have experienced this. You may know of others. But obviously, during the pandemic, a lot of people had to move their business models online. And now a lot of companies are also then fighting for those valuable search results on Google. And you can do that in a methodical, careful way through search engine optimization to appear at the top of what we call the organic results, which is just the bulk of a search results web page. But if you want to actually push your brand above those results, that's usually done through advertising. Usually those first couple of results on a search results page are ads. So if you're finding it hard, or you just don't have the time, you need instant results to get yourself up on those search results, to get that traffic, to get people coming to your site so you can show them how amazing you are, then you need to go for PPC. This is something that does have an outlay in terms of ad budget. Some keywords can be very expensive. Some can be really cheap. You just have to get someone professional, I can't think of who, to come in and do some keyword research and just kind of look at the market for you and just kind of find those opportunities. There are spaces that are going to be very competitive, but there are going to be some gaps that we will be able to identify for you, and you can actually make your own. And obviously, if you kind of have a particular branding message, then you can actually kind of come up with, you've probably seen the importance of things like hashtag search results and stuff like that. Well, hashtags are obviously the kind of the social media version of keywords on Google. So you can actually identify specific interests and topics through those. And if you can come up with some that are brand specific, you can get in first on those results. So that way you can then own those results. So that PPC gets you the instant results, and SEO obviously is the long-term effort that drives the value in terms of your brand and bringing people to your site or your platform. If you've obviously got more questions, chuck them in the chat box. We'd be happy to answer them. But now I'm handing back to Jacob.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So I suppose I wanted to quickly sort of round off our sort of section by sort of looking into how digital marketing and public relations complement one another. And I suppose one of the biggest ways is the fact that the reach is so vast, and Ruby mentioned it at the start of the session. There is a lot of different outlets, a lot of different formats in which digital marketing and PR come onto. One of them being digital, and increasingly more so, seeing more articles and that on larger digital outlets, And you're seeing some smaller brands actually being on some of the larger outlets like the BBC, for example, and you're thinking, how is that even possible? And believe it or not, it actually is. It's all down to the art form, which Ruby has developed very, very well. With that comes with something Chris has mentioned called SEO, or search engine optimization, the longer word. And with the increase of digital PR, what tends to happen there is the brand that's sort of providing the piece is being attributed on the article with a link, and that link then creates a backlink to the website. So that basically increases the brand's authority to a search engine, which helps with search engine rankings. So there is a roundabout way, but it's somehow managed to develop its way through over the past couple of years, and more recently they're very, very well connected. And I suppose the last thing really is with PR and digital marketing, they can form part of an omni-channel campaign. An omni-channel quite simply means just more than one platform. So you could have a particular event that you're trying to push, whether it's something in the winter, say let's use Christmas, for example, and you have a social media advert campaign going out. Then you could also have something that is being promoted through the press and also something through print and direct mail. And they all kind of club together to form one big to deliver one big message, basically using multiple platforms and channels. So I think that's pretty much it from us. Thank you very much. I will hand back to Ruby now.
Hello. Okay, I'm going to see if I can share my screen again at the right time. Here we go. Okay, so now before I finish up with quick fire things, takeaways, does anybody have any questions? Oh. No?
I do. Well, it's not so much a question, it's a comment.
Yeah. Let me see you. There you are. Okay. Hi.
You can see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. No, there was an interesting synchronicity, particularly with what Dan was saying about things not to do with politics. I find that a little bit difficult because I'm chair of the local Labour Party. So that's a little bit tricky to avoid. And when you talked about religion, the last time I filled in the census, I put down my religion as Jedi. So.
Oh no, I've offended you, haven't I? I'm sorry, Will. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're chair of the Labour Party, then it's a bit difficult to avoid. Yeah. I guess you must get a lot of not nice comments when you post stuff, presumably. And I guess that's just something you have to be wary of and.
Well, it depends, because I tend to post stuff not really in that capacity. We've got a social media person that deals with that. I tend to post in my own capacity, and it will tend to be of that leaning. But it's one of those things when you're in an echo chamber, most of the people that are my Facebook friends are within that same echo chamber. Yeah. So whether it's about the disaster that is Brexit, or whether it's about whatever BJ is up to this day, everyone is of the same mindset. So I don't tend to get that kickback on that. So I'm just very kind of sheltered from it. But also,
it could be you word it in a particular way that's not. Aggressive isn't the right word, but maybe you're very good at wording things in the right way.
Yeah, I'm kind of pointing out the authentic honesty about a lot of that. And actually, on that note, the fact that you work for Tough Books, I've made this morning an exception because I've withdrawn myself from work and things because I'm just going through a mental health crisis at the moment. But I wanted to come in on this because it's quite close to what it is I want to be doing with my storytelling. And I had a previous mental health crisis that had been brought about by working on a marketing campaign for Panasonic Tough Books. So there's an interesting synchronicity going on.
God, was it working with me that did it? I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't. It was just the excess pressure that I was being put under by my marketing agency that I was working with at the time. I was in that capacity. I was working as a software developer rather than as a storyteller. So it just seemed a lot sort of seemed to come together and work anyway.
Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it? And is your hair dyed because of your leanings politically? Is it red for that reason? Or
It's
is it
not,
something-
no. It's just that stands out a bit more. I thought, why the hell? It's not every day.
I can second that too, Will.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a thing to do. Why not?
No, I like it. If I didn't have a funny shaped head, I'd do the same, to be honest.
We all have a funny shaped head.
I think there are strategies that you can adopt, aren't there, Will? Thank you for saying all of that with all the synchronicity there. That I've worked for big corporates. I work also at times for West Mercia Police, so we have different strategies for different clients. Obviously, our strategy for answering social media comments for certain companies might be very different to others, and other companies actually use disruptive marketing to gain their traction, don't they? Perhaps you don't necessarily in the Labour Party, maybe you might want to, but maybe that is not your strategy. So it'll be different for every business and every sector how you want to strategize to answering questions on social platforms and what messages that you're putting out there. So, yeah, interesting synchronicity there. Anybody else, or shall we move on to the next bits? And
We've had another question in the chat box, Ruby.
Oh, is that? Oh, I can't see that.
I want to read it out.
Yeah, go on then.
So Laura has asked, what sort of topic will make a good PR piece? What should be avoided?
Okay, thanks, Laura. So good PR. So Dan also asked about newsjacking. So I might be able to tie those two together. So newsjacking is jumping on board a piece of news that's topical. But it isn't just the Jubilee, for example. So let's use that one. Hopefully that's not too offensive to anybody. So the Jubilee, you might consider having a logo that is in red, white and blue. I'm probably going to do that too, because there are certain points in the year, in the calendar year, certain topical features that you might want to do something with. But that's not really what newsjacking is. Newsjacking is jumping on board something that you are going to use positively to elevate your business. Hopefully you might be thought-provoking. Maybe it's about big issues like sustainability. I'm going to stay away from Brexit. Maybe it's about sustainability, ESG, or CSR, that sort of thing. Maybe you want to be a thought leader in that. Maybe you're using that topic to position yourself in your sector, in your area, in your business, as somebody who is really knowledgeable about that. And then maybe people will come to you, maybe you can write an article or a blog and you can share it with the press. And it's so topical that they perhaps want to print it as well, which will help them with your brand reputation and sharing locally, nationally, wherever you want to put it. So it's useful, newsjacking, if you're going to be up there, but I think you have to have a continued theme, an ongoing thing, if that's what you're going to do. I'm by no means an expert in it. If you look at a business called Rise at 7, who are PR experts, they are awesome at doing it. So they will have some amazing examples of newsjacking. But for your own business, you can do it more tentatively, perhaps, to use it to position yourself in your sector. Is there anything else? Have I missed any other chats? I don't know why I can't see them. No? Okay, so I'm going to continue with the, I have to move you out of the way. I'm going to continue with my slides, and you can always ask questions via email, and Yasmin will share details. So I'm going to say, and finally, a few quick tips to take away, because I'm sure we've all got other things to do on a working day. So no one cares. I'm going to start with that, possibly a bit disruptive. So if you're going to continue to put out social media or messaging, it really has to have some form of interest to people. My question is, when someone says, oh, Ruby, this has happened at work, can you share it with the press? Can you get it into the Worcester News, for example? Then I have to say, nobody cares. That's my bottom line, is who is going to care about this news? Is it news? Not just is it timely, is it topical, but is it actually news? So that's why I say, does anybody care? And therefore I have to write accordingly. And sometimes some of my tricky conversations with clients are about, that's possibly interesting to you, and it could be used as content on your blog and maybe social, but it isn't news, and therefore I won't share it in the press release. So, also, I do manage crises, PR crises, and I tend to quite like that. I don't like the crisis, but I like managing it. And one of the tactics, obviously, for managing PR crises is getting in front of the story, showing honesty and integrity if you can. And obviously that will be different for each business. I thoroughly suggest people be you, like Dan, like Jacob, like Chris, like me. We are just us, and we are doing our best to get the best for what we can with our expertise. So I think that should go across all the lines of business now, and that people really are quite fascinated with other people, and to continue to be you. And if I hadn't said it before, brand is going to be quite big this year, I think, in PR. Okay, I want to say a big thank you to our special guest, Dan from Panasonic, Jacob and Chris from Infinity Digital, and to Yasmin and the crew at the Chamber, and to all of you guys for joining us. I can't see you right now, but hopefully I'll be able to do that shortly. When I don't share my screen, I can see you all again. But yeah, it's been lovely to have so many of you on. I know I don't really like to ask questions in a webinar either, so if you do have any, please do let Yasmin know, and she can share our details. And thank you, Will, for sharing. That was quite amazing, all those synchronicities, as you say. And I will hand back over to Yasmin and say thank you for your time.